My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Alrighty, it is currently 4:22 p.m. and this is to capture and understand what is demonic activity, which is the dual purpose of both prosecuting the state of California and also educating the masses regarding the reality of Satan, who is practicing through a corrupt government, that is the state of California, an organized system of murdering and kidnapping American citizens. It is gang stalking, group stalking, and it's occurring at what is the very heavily documented Woodside Senior Apartments. This is supposed to appear as what is the ignorant onlookers reference as sunlight, and it's under no circumstances sunlight. Even if the sun were at any location at Woodside Senior Apartments, there is no natural occurrence where sunlight is going to appear in the ways that I've shown you, shooting horizontally through windows at such a low elevation where this would ever be a natural occurrence. This is the presence, and with regard to the prosecution of any corrupt entity that's practicing federal group stalking and monitoring, which is a government's organized system of murdering and kidnapping American citizens, understand why gang stalking is going on. And that's why, again, you're understanding what is going to be placing senior citizens who are engaged in domestic terrorism. And like the sex offender who you've seen under the fake sun in the middle of the day, that's remaining at the same time over 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue in West Covina. This is how you are prosecuting the municipalities that are the city of West Covina and the city of Ontario, who are documented gang stalkers. That is the removal of the demon, the corrupt terrorist, Paul Leon, the removal of the demon, the corrupt terrorist. That is Brian Calderon Tabatabai. They're engaged in state surveillance. This is under no circumstances sunlight. This is understanding what is the presence of engineered light. Let me turn the television off so there's no shadow. You're looking at what is real-time disappearance of this light. What you'll see in the images, which was moments earlier, engineered light was appearing all along this couch. It's not sunlight. And you also know along this living room wall behind the front door is where the stationary engineered light remains at 6 o'clock in the morning and as late as 5 o'clock in the evening. The entity has engaged in altering the engineered light, which is never naturally occurring. And so it's not remaining stationary on the wall. It is appearing, as you'll see in the images, on this couch. This is engineered light that's appearing on the wall up above. It's not the product of anything that's ever going to appear through windows. You can see that on its face. You can see it, what is engineered light through the top of the, that's not the product of sunlight. Okay, just like when you're driving by at in the parking lot of Alvarado Gardens, there is no sunlight. That's going to be the what would be the result of sunlight moving directly, moving across the DMV of in Glendale, California, like you saw the people of the state who are demons who are pacing. That's the evidence of demons who are gang stalking you. And there is no, by the way, reconciling what's occurring out here. You're looking at what's supposed to be some distant sunset, and then reconciling the light activity that you're seeing on the wall, and you're looking at it rapidly disappear. You're witnessing the demonic. This is your introduction to the spiritual realm. You're looking at what is immediately appearing. None of this is sunlight. And you're remembering what I've also shown you, the body of evidence. This is going to be, understand, the federal prosecution, all the demons, the terrorists that are acting with impunity, as you're documenting it. That's impossible light activity all you have to do is pay attention. Okay, it's appearing on the depths, on the inside of the apartment, on the wall, on the upper portion of the living room wall. It rapidly disappears, and a different color rapidly appears. You just saw moments ago that this wasn't here, and then it appears, and you're looking at what's supposed to be sunlight. That's not sunlight when it's currently 4:26 p.m. Remember, I'm staying at the Starbucks at 3423 in Pomona, California. This is the prosecution. All the people of the state, including AVANATH Capital Management LLC, who are gang stalking through their employees, they're going to federal prison. Okay, this is the evidence that you will provide for the feds. They will raid apartment buildings that are engaged in state organized murders and kidnappings of American citizens. And what you need to know is that they're demon possessed. This is a demonic environment. They're walking outside on the sidewalk, and impossible light activity was flashing on the inside. You've already seen that. You know by definition what is directed light, and that's exactly what it is. They're monitoring at Woodside Senior Apartments. They know exactly who the target individual is. It's me. You can see, you know that because this is where the fake sun is at 9 o'clock in the morning. There's no iteration of any sunlight that's going to be seen through the Pomona Starbucks, first of all, or at 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue, where I have video directly rising to the level to remove the terrorist leader, Brian Calderon Tabatabai, because of the federal group stalking, monitoring, conduct terrorism that's happening in that city, where you will not remain as a mayor, and that's the same treatment of the terrorist leader, Paul Leon. The evidence of gang stalking, which the Ontario police have provided against that mayor. That's not an actual mayor, and the people of the state have provided against that mayor. This is a corrupt community that's practicing the state system, and they do so with impunity, which you will see reflected in the document entitled WSA-The People. This is how you are rooting out the public corruption issue with regard to state organized crime. This is the entity that's acting to murder and kidnap people, and you are understanding it through the demonic system of gang stalking, group stalking. It is demonic activity that is revealed, and it is illustrated through the rapid disappearing. That's not even sunlight. Remember, it's over the Pomona Starbucks. It's over my vehicle at 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue in West Covina, California. There is no sun, and remember, that was after the entity had the fake sun rising here at 7:18 in the morning and setting here at 6:27 in the evening. You're looking at what is AVANATH gang stalking through the people of the state. HD Supply is a well-documented terrorist, and that's why AVANATH Capital Management employees are going to federal prison, because that's impunity. All right, they're doing so, and they're failing in their regard, in their effort to appear as anything other than the gang stalkers. They're doing so with the demon in 55. You've seen her gang stalking here in the evening, in the middle of the afternoon, while the entity is keeping it over West Covina at 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue. This is the entity that's engaging in audible activity, light activity, and they're doing so while you're looking at impossible light activity you saw here. That's the criminal intent to maintain the elements of monitoring with regard to the specific environment, and they do so with knowledge that they're being documented. This is a Latino male, and if he's not a natural born citizen, or any of his adult children that are living inside of apartment 41, which is AVANATH Capital Management, they're going to be deported. And that's the same uniform treatment for all of the city of Ontario who are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. HD Supply is a corrupt company acting with impunity, gang stalking with the Ontario Police, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, the Ontario International Airport, who you already know are engaged in state surveillance here, while the entity kept a fake sun, and the entity was stalking by helicopter day and night. He's going to federal prison. His adult children, you've seen gang stalking while that fake sun is sitting right over the roof of this building at a lower elevation than the tree in the sky. You already saw that then when I go to West Covina, the fake sun is over my vehicle. The entity is going to federal prison. That's deportation for any of those that are not natural born. For engaging in gang stalking with the state, you shall be deported. And you're understanding why it's worthiness of deportation. That's AVANATH. That's also a company that's engaging in state terrorism, and the company is going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally. You're also going to be prosecuted with regard to the level of impunity that's represented, that's communicated while they gang stalk you in your face. Okay? It is, again, 53399X3. That's a criminal path while he walks by. Those are the elements of monitoring. They were doing the same thing while the engineered light filled this apartment, and impossible light activity is created while AVANATH is literally gang stalking on the property of Woodside. A very heavily documented gang stalker. You already know the fake sun during the day and the fake moon at night. They are with the people of the state that come onto the property who are sharing in the criminal elements of monitoring, and they do so also while they're engaged in Title 18, meaning they're monitoring the evidence which is belonging to the federal government, and there will be no removal from federal prison. Everybody in units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison because they're gang stalking and sharing in the same elements, and you've seen them all do it under the fake sun. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's currently 4:30 p.m. where there will never be any sunlight. No sunlight's ever going to appear here. That's understanding the intent to maintain the elements of monitoring. They were already on the record before I went to West Covina and showed you the Richard Bell's engagement and the West Covina Police Department's engagement in state surveillance, gang stalking, just like the Ontario police are, just like Mike LORENZ is, doing so through the people of the state, and this is demonic activity. You're going to prosecute the demon-possessed who are practicing a fully exposed system of surveillance, and you're recognizing it through a demonic environment while they maintain the criminal elements of monitoring. They're doing so while they're also engaged in federal stalking. Okay, again, that's license 53399X3, and that's federal prison with regard to the impunity that I'm documenting right now, acting commercially with regard to HD Supply and AVANATH, who are going to be civilly and criminally prosecuted as well. This is P.O.C. It is currently, again, 4:31 p.m. It's not only federal prison. They're engaged in a perpetual sex offense. They're monitoring my genitalia in the restroom. And this is speaking to the impossible light activity that you saw on the wall and rapidly disappeared. You saw no light here and it rapidly appeared in a different color. You're looking at what is no sunlight out here. There's no sunlight that's going to be the cause of this light that's appearing. And then you're looking at the face of what are demons who are engaging and what is appearing as though they're doing one thing on the surface. You're recognizing what are the demonic elements of monitoring. And you're going to prosecute civilly and criminally for the statewide system. This is how an entity is keeping American citizens under surveillance in California, and it is the prosecution of the state. The demon in 55 is engaging in what is ongoing amplification. Just like you see here, this is impunity. This is what the demon in 55 is maintaining while they are monitoring on my communication device in real time. I want you to be clear. Everybody in units 33 through 64, they're going to federal prison. And the entire city of Ontario, like the state, is subject to the deportation, the immigration policy, all domestic terrorists, which includes the entire city. You're going to be subject to the deportation of the gang stalkers throughout the city of Ontario, and that is every police department, every fire department, every sheriff's department. They will be subject to the same deportation policy with regard to exposing this criminal system that is serving for the organized murders and kidnappings in California, where the demon-possessed are targeting American citizens, a violation of your constitutional and human rights. And you are able to identify it through the maintenance of the engineered light, which is under no circumstances naturally occurring. It is the direct evidence of a government to keep you under surveillance. And remember, you're not only looking at this video where you saw the engineer light appearing at the top on the living room wall. And remember, I'm in West Covina. This is how, and even if I didn't have that evidence, by the way, there's no sunlight that's going to appear inside on that wall like you saw. It rapidly disappeared, and then you see the engineer light appear here in a different color. All right. Under no circumstances is sunlight shooting through the window, through the closed blinds, or through the drapes on the wall. And that's also the light activity that's here at 6 o'clock in the morning. Look at the totality of the evidence. That's just the maintenance of engineered light, where demons that are gang stalking you in an apartment building are maintaining amplified audible activity. And that is representing the entire people of the state. They are one entity gang stalking together. HD Supply showing impunity, that driver that's relevant for federal prison. All right. And so is AVANATH Capital. He's going to federal prison. His adult children that are gang stalking are going to federal prison. And any of them that are not natural born citizens are also going to be deported, which I believe his wife has already been deported. She's not coming back. She's a documented gang stalker. She's never coming back to this country. All right. It is currently 4:34 p.m. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently, by the way, it's Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. It's 4:40 p.m. I'm capturing a couple I'm going to capture one screen recording, and I'm going to capture more than one video. This is just tying together all of the salient points that I made in the video at 4:22 p.m. Remember, I'm at the third-party facilitating venue, Woodside Senior Apartments, located at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California, where, by the way, with regard to the natural environment, this is how you're prosecuting the demonic system of federal group stalking and monitoring, where the demon possessed, these are intentional actors engaging in what is criminal activity in the physical, not just practicing demonic activity in the spirit. Okay, they're engaged in criminal activity, and it's the government that's engaging in what is organized crime with regard to how the malicious system, which is demonic in nature, which is not impervious to being identified, documented, and prosecuted in the federal tribunal, which is the federal courts in this country, in order to prosecute that government for engaging in what is group stalking, gang stalking, it's state organized stalking, where the government is filled with demons, and they're engaged in what is criminal conduct with the constituents of the state who are demons, and they are targeting an American citizen, relevant with regard to the laws that actually exist. This is the prosecution of the demon-possessed entity that's engaging in what is unconstitutional and unlawful behaviors. And so it's identified, it's captured, it's documented through the specific environment. The specific environment is what I have referred to as the environment that is entirely distinct. Anyone, including your third grade son or daughter, can recognize the specific environment with regard to the basic rudimentary principles regarding the natural environment. Because the son, for example, that you see in video, removing this demon, this closeted sex offender, this gang stalking mayor, that's an oxymoron. There shall be no terrorist in office in the state of California. That's what the prosecution is serving for, to remove these rats from office. Okay? This is public corruption that's being highlighted. It's being exposed to remove them. This is a terrorist. While state surveillance is happening in the city, you need to understand the person that's calling themselves a mayor in that city is a part of the same community that's engaging in that city, in that city's crime, and they are going to be removed by virtue of literally being a part of that community, engaging in the same criminal system, but also because you have a responsibility and you shall be held accountable for what's going on your watch. And terrorism is unacceptable. Okay, so the entity is engaging in terrorism, and some demon like Brian Calderon Tapataba, you can deny all you want. The people know what you are. You're a demon. You're a part of the same demon-possessed population, gang stalking in West Covina, California, and you're also somebody that has esteemed yourself to the position of mayor, which you are unfit and disqualified, not only by your closet and mental illness, being a demon-possessed person, but also engaging in the malicious criminal system of federal group stalking and monitoring in the city of West Covina, California, with every corrupted government body in West Covina, California, the state of California, and doing so with malice, gang stalking me while I'm in that city. And the entity is doing so as you are mindful of what is not the natural environment. Under any circumstances ever will there be any sunlight appearing inside of Tracy Banks' apartment in Ontario, California, at Woodside Senior Apartments, ever, and not alone, including in the position where I'm showing it. It's not going to appear at all. That's not sunlight. But it's also, when you give a common sense and analytical analytical approach, this is very common sense. This is not rocket science. The sun that's remaining over me, for example, at 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue, as I captured on video, remember 7:50 in the morning until after 4 p.m., I'm at 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue. And that was before I captured Woodside Senior Apartments. So you already know this. The evidence is already, I'm capturing video evidence of what I've already established, because the entity is engaging in what is ongoing impunity. This is relevant to the devastating damages by design that AVANATH Capital Management is going to compensate me with, based on the ongoing psychological harms that their demon-possessed employees who are on video gang stalking with impunity, you're going to compensate for that harm. Okay, they're fully engaged in gang stalking by virtue of it happening at Woodside Senior Apartments on the real property. The government is engaging in gang stalking on AVANATH's Capital Management's real property. You shall be held civilly and criminally accountable for what's happening on your property. This is to disincentivize the people of the state's engagement in a state organized system of terrorism and surveillance to murder and kidnap an American citizen. They are also literally gang stalking via their employees. They are also literally gang stalking in Orange County, California, where AVANATH Capital Management LLC is headquartered. Orange County is a gang stalker, a group stalker. Okay, it's already sitting on the record. The entity is maintaining the specific environment, and you already know this, but you don't even have to look at what sun is ever going to be over anywhere in any city in Orange County when it's remaining over Lark Ellen Avenue from 7:50 in the morning until after 4 o'clock in the evening. There's no provision for the sun because there's only one, and the entity engaged in the documented asininity of putting a light source that's supposed to appear as the sun over me at 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue in the city of West Covina, which is pointing out demons such as Brian Calderon Tapatabai, disqualified, repugnant to the notion of being any sort of mayor. No such terrorist shall have any office of any such. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in what is public corruption, and they're gang stalking in West Covina. And that's how you were able to identify this engineered light that you see on the living room wall. Let me see if I can brighten this up just a little bit. that you see on the living room wall inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, this is not the product of sunlight. Even as you isolate the environment, you don't have to compare it to West Covina, where the so-called sun is. Okay, if that's the sun, there's no sunlight appearing on the living room wall inside of Tracy Banks' apartment in Ontario, California. There's no sunlight reaching into the depths onto her wall right behind me, and within 10 minutes it rapidly disappears. It very rapidly disappears. So let me show you this. Very rapidly disappears. Okay, it's gone. Very rapidly disappears. The engineer light is gone. This video is 11 minutes and 17 seconds long. So I just want you to see. This is where the engineer light is present on the wall, and as I'm showing you, in less than 10 minutes, it's gone. This is an introduction to the spiritual realm. This is demonic. This is entirely demonic. I am pointing out the ways in which you are able to know for yourself rather than somebody just telling you things and you just checking your brain at the door, because you do not have to do that. You don't have to check your brain at the door in order to believe by faith that Christ Jesus walked this earth, lived a perfect sinless life, and died for your sins and rose from the grave. You do not have to check your brain at the door in order to live by faith. You do not have to check your brain at the door in order to understand that Satan is real. He's a spirit. And you are able to deduce his presence through the unnatural environment that surrounds you as well. All I did was capture it so that the world can look at it, because you're looking at it, but you don't even realize what you're looking at. And you're looking at it. You're looking right at it. And that's how Satan operates, by the way. He's right in front of your face. That's how public corruption appears, by the way. Right in front of your face. That's how it must appear. And I want to be clear, this is how psychopaths behave themselves. That's what you saw operating the HP vehicle, HD Supply, excuse me. That's fine. They're going to be prosecuted. HD Supply has a long documented engagement in the criminal system of gang stalking, and they did so with impunity. And that's relevant to the damages that corrupt gang stalking company in California, that does not need to continue to exist, by the way. While you have demons that they're hiring to engage in state surveillance, not a legitimate business, maintaining the criminal elements of monitoring. And I'll get into that because you'll see HD Supply in the video with regard to what I'm referencing right now. But nonetheless, I'm going to stop because that was 8 minutes and I want to make this a short video. But this is, again, I want to preface what you're looking at with regard to understanding how this demonic system is pointing directly to what is criminal conduct that's happening in the natural. And it is a physical prosecution of what are demons who make up the government in California. And they are specifically identified by name, and they are being removed. Justice requires their removal, and literally the office, the obligations, the ethical responsibilities requires nothing less. They will not remove. Just like the people of the state, you shall be deported engaging in state surveillance in California. You shall be subject to federal prison, providing this level of intolerable facilitation, which again, I'm evidencing through this video documentation that I captured of what is the engineered light. This is evidence of the state of California still obsessively engaged in what is an ongoing effort to murder and kidnap an American citizen, because that is why the police are gang stalking, because they're trying to murder you in a malicious manner. They're trying to kidnap you in a malicious manner. That's why they do that, in case you did not know that. And they're doing it with the people of the state. And you go to federal prison for that. That is no small thing. You go to federal prison when you do so by living at a facilitating venue. A facilitating venue is not a private residence. You do not have any constitutional protections at a facilitating venue. You are engaging in what is criminal presence. Yes, you shall be subject to a criminal prosecution for living at the facilitating venue where state surveillance is underway. And how do you recognize that? Through the maintenance of a fake sun, where the government is practicing a demonic targeting system that's designed to result in the murder and or kidnapping of an American citizen by a demon-possessed entity. That's what the state of California is practicing. And that's why the senior citizens, not to be distinct from any other age bracket, who will be treated in an identical manner under federal law, where domestic terrorism is under no circumstances tolerated. You're going to federal prison. And let me be clear. Let me be very clear, because these demons are very clear. They have no regard for avoiding federal prison. They have no regard for being deported out of this country. You see it on video. Again, AVANATH Capital Management, this is a dark-skinned Latino male. If this is indeed not a natural-born citizen, if that is the case, no regard for remaining in this country. That's what's simultaneously being documented in the ongoing failed effort. It's an abysmal fail. Nobody is mistaken about what you're looking at in the video that I captured today. That's what I'm referencing. You're looking at gang stalking. You're looking at the elements of monitoring. You're looking at demons that are targeting. And no one is missing that. Most importantly, the feds aren't missing it, because that's what matters. I'm prosecuting. You're witnessing demonic activity. This is supposed to appear on the surface as one thing that's entirely legitimate and lawful, and having nothing to do with the target individual, who's supposed to appear and sound as though they're hallucinating, they're suffering from some mental capacity. That does not work when you are targeting a lawyer who speaks very clearly and can articulate very well regarding what demons are maliciously doing. You can both look at the surface and understand in substance, and there is where you recognize that malice, and that's why you're going to be deported. That's why it's not going to be tolerated. And while you continue to do it on video, while you continue to do it day by day, which is the evidence of these videos that I continue to document, that's your communication to the federal government. Yes, please deport me out of this country. I don't want to stay here. Yes, please put me in federal prison. I should not be free. Yes, put me in a mental asylum. That's exactly where I belong. This is what the entity is communicating while they continuously engage in the pattern of conduct. And let me be clear, they are monitoring and gang stalking, keeping under surveillance. I am the whistleblower. I am the federal government as far as the state is concerned. I am the federal prosecutor as far as the state is concerned. Their ongoing defiance regarding that which they're not even going to accomplish. There will be no sacrifice. The entity has sacrificed itself. They are speaking to and revealing what needs to be studied, and that's what it is that I've also provided analysis regarding the decision-making, the behavioral patterns of the entity that is demon-possessed. It is manifest mental illness, and that is what's not discussed. While the entity seeks to provide propaganda and a lot of misinformation campaigns in order to thwart what is mental illness and those who do not suffer mental illness at all, but you don't know what you're being targeted. You don't understand where it is. You might not be able to articulate what you're surrounded by, or why you even are getting this, I would say, instinct that, for example, how an ordinary person would put it, strangers are following me everywhere. That's supposed to sound like the textbook paranoid person. And I'm not stating that there is no basis for legitimate mental illness on the basis of paranoia, but that's not what this is about. And so what necessarily is the case, because the government's engaging in this level of malice, trying to kidnap and murder American citizens, never again, and federal law shall reflect the fact that the states can no longer keep an American citizen without their consent, outside of their voluntarily remaining in a medical facility based on some claim of mental illness for the safety of the public. That's exactly how the pattern of conduct is facilitated. If you don't want to stay in a mental facility, if you don't want to any longer submit, okay, and you haven't taken a butter knife to somebody's neck and try to saw their throat open, they're releasing you. They're engaging in kidnapping American citizens. They're libeling you on paper, and they're calling it the practice of medicine. They're calling it psychiatry. It's malicious. It's ethically problematic. This is how the entity is engaging what is kidnapping American citizens that they're targeting. In other words, what are you getting from that? Let's go deeper. The so-called mental health therapists, the so-called psychiatrists, those are the psychopaths. Those are the ones that suffer from mental illness. Okay? It's currently, I want to be clear, I'm going to go through the screen recording because this is why everybody's going to federal prison, 4:54 p.m. You already know that Mike Lorenz is a closeted sex offender and a psychopath. Okay? Let me be clear. The demon-possessed who are gang stalking, who practice sexual violence as a corrupt entity, these are the very same ones who not only engage in sexual violence, they approve it. These are the ones like Mike Lorenz, who is over a corrupt department that's flying over in helicopter because they're listening to the truth that I speak. Let me be clear. That's prosecuting Mike Lorenz. That's prosecuting him. This is another demon who you know by name. You're talking about, I document the people. You're prosecuting the state. It's the state's criminal system. And let me finish the thought, because this is exactly what the reality is. The demon-possessed, the mentally ill, the malicious entity that fails to be a distraction continuously points the finger at itself. Those that are practicing the massive sex offense of what is group stalking, they are the ones that are also practicing massive sexual violence as a way of life. They call themselves mother and father while doing so, by the way. They call themselves adoption agencies in the corrupt states, by the way. And they practice sexual violence and they approve it. They are the ones penetrating children and they call themselves chief of police. That's what's gang stalking in helicopters. Sex offenders, psychopaths, gang stalkers. Why else would you react to your criminal conduct being exposed with more terrorism stalking somebody in a helicopter? You need to understand the mental health illness that's present with regard to that sort of decision-making skills. And that's exactly what is the malice of these, the propaganda regarding the misinformation regarding genuine mental health issues. And that's on purpose because the states in this country are targeting American citizens. This is the work of Satan that's already ongoing right now as I speak. And it's the prosecution, a comprehensive prosecution of the city of Ontario. Paul Leon he is literally witnessing his public exposure and removal. No sex offender, no terrorist, and no criminal approving it. And no, literally criminal level of dereliction of duty, because that's not what it is. But any way you want, oh, you're so ignorant that you're criminally derelict. Either way, you're out of office. This is a demon that's gang stalking in Ontario and knows exactly what these sex offenders, Paul Leon, sex offenders. This is what you know all of this information based on the criminal system of the demon possessed. They're violent sex offenders. They engage in surveillance in bathrooms. Who does that? I will let you know what that's referred to. It is by definition sex offenders. They call themselves hiding behind the titles of mother and father, like mentally ill psychopaths hide behind the title of psychiatrist, therapist, mental health specialist. In California, they're kidnapping American citizens. And they're demons. This is a demonic system. That's why the entity chose at 4:54 p.m., by the way, to fly over by helicopter. All of the demons living in 33 through 64, all those units, just like you saw in the video you will see, they are all going to federal prison. Every single last one of them. And neither shall they, under any circumstances, avoid federal prison. That is, I want to be clear, by default. You engage in intolerable facilitation that is systematic, that is repeated, that is ongoing communication of impunity, like the HD Supply truck driver. That's somebody that's gang stalking and an outright disregard. You're looking at what is a psychopath that's showing a level of determination. They're not engaging in any business between AVANATH and HD Supply. Those were the elements of monitoring. And it was a show of what is ongoing obsession, desperation, deliberation, willfulness, defiance. These are very, very problematic terms in a federal prosecution of a statewide criminal system. That Mike Lorenz, a closeted sex offender, inclined to penetrate children, inclined to approve those that penetrate children, inclined to engage in sex trafficking, inclined to approve those that practice sex trafficking in children. That's what's gang stalking as a department, flying over a senior citizen apartment complex in helicopter like you've seen in dozens and dozens of videos. And you also know what their condition is while they're gang stalking in planes and helicopters. That is the fake sun and the fake moon. These are demons that are practicing the statewide P.O.C. And while you do so, while the whistleblower, while literally the federal government is engaged in an ongoing investigation, that's called criminal obstruction of justice. Only a mentally ill, that is psychopaths, make those sorts of decisions when you are faced with what is being held accountable for what you're engaging in. So you resort to more terrorism. Understand how the mental illness of this terrorist organization, that is the state of California, that is gang stalking amongst the corrupt executive branch. The police don't have probable cause. They don't have reasonable suspicion. They're targeting. They are abusing the laws that exist on the books, okay, in order to engage in what is a targeting system. So you're going to prosecute them for every way in which they're engaging what is the abuse of that. That's called fictitious exercise of authority, which this same corrupt entity stalking in helicopter, desperately trying to be a distraction from what it is that I'm talking about. I'm not. It's not a distraction. It's driving right into what it is, my larger point. This system of public corruption is acting through on the streets. The entity is gang stalking, kidnapping through the demons, the sex offenders who call themselves police officers, stalking in helicopters while they're engaged in surveillance. I'm not exaggerating when I say sex offenders like Mike Lorenz. He's keeping me, myself a woman, And I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. I am not welcoming Mike LORENZ or any other sex offender working for the Ontario Police to clock my genitalia in the bathroom, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're monitoring my genitalia. They're obsessed. They're demons. They're obsessed with my nudity. They're obsessed with every word that I utter. They're also hostile to it at the same time. That's a psychopath. That level of both that hostility, but yet you're obsessed with me. That is, by the way, those are the ingredients for what is a murder by somebody that can't make up these are the demon possessed. These are the demon possessed. And they are surrounded with a body of evidence showing how it is a statewide pattern of conduct. And the level of malice by that entity that's practicing this satanic targeting system, which you can identify by the maintenance of a fake sun over 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue, at the same time while I'm inside of Tracy Banks' apartment at 4:22 in the afternoon. There's no sunlight that's going to be on her living room wall at the top portion of her, right underneath the ceiling, inside of the depths of her apartment, while the fake sun is seen over my vehicle at 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue, nearest Wynwood Apartments in West Covina, California, where demons are pacing around me. That's the city that is gang stalking, just like the city of Ontario is gang stalking. They're going to be subject to a systematic and comprehensive prosecution. And most importantly, I don't want to say most importantly, but as vital with regard to rooting out a lot of the problem, you're going to deport these terrorists. And that includes the sex offenders that work for the Ontario Police Department, any of those, from the demon-possessed chief of police down. Okay, any of them that are not natural born citizens working for a police department is not going to keep you in this country. Terrorism is the line. And when you're engaged in, and the entire city is engaged in gang stalking, I don't have to document some demon living in a corner of Ontario that I've never been to, which, by the way, is essentially doesn't even exist. I've been documenting the city of Ontario, which is the state of California, when you can establish a P.O.C. And why? Because the nature of the evidence. I can't create this fake sun over my head. And you're looking at the pattern of conduct, which is speaking to the intent to be in that deliberately maintained environment. And the people, the demons who are gang stalking in that demonic environment, they engage just like you saw HD Supply and AVANATH Capital Management, their little demon-possessed employee who's going to federal prison. They're not coincidentally acting in conformity with regard to how you know demons are monitoring through light activity, through merely being present in that environment. They have to be around you in order to keep the activity, movement in that engineer light and noise in that engineer light. This is how demons are monitoring you. Monitoring, in case you did not understand that, with regard to what the government has no business doing, the government has no business monitoring, the government is keeping you under surveillance, the government is stalking. Okay, the government is filled with demon-possessed state actors who are gang stalking. The government is filled with the cockroaches of humanity. And the prosecution of the state of California is going to uproot them, pluck them out. And it includes many beyond Paul Leon and Brian Calderon Tabatabai of West Covina. As I use videos just speaking to the specific environment of West Covina, this is not sunlight that's inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, where this demon in apartment number 55 is intentionally acting with disregard for the constitutional and human rights of another. This is how a demon that's practicing a satanic targeting system is going to be prosecuted in the natural for terrorism, with the government who provides evidence against this psychopath in 55. You're going to federal prison for gang stalking in your apartment. Yes, you are. And if you're not a natural born citizen, you're then going to be deported for gang stalking in your apartment on behalf of the state of California. Yes, you absolutely are. All right, this is how an entity is engaging in that P.O.C., and that's what I want to preface this with, okay? So inside of Tracy Banks' apartment where I'm at, remember 408 West G Street, you're looking at the timestamp. This is captured at 4:22 p.m. today on November 22nd. And let's just be mindful of what I captured. This is in Glendale. All right, I captured more than one video at 4:22. Remember, I'm on the 15 freeway getting off of 4th Street at 4:22 p.m. where the sun has this uncanny ability to maintain perfect alignment with me. Is that creating any sunlight on Tracy Banks' apartment window, on her living room wall inside of her apartment? No, absolutely not. No, it's not. Okay, this is asininity. This is literally, again, showing, Satan is not all-knowing. Satan just requires a willing vessel. And this is, again, speaking to how needful it is to know Christ and protect you, because Satan hates you and he will drag you to the depths of hell if he's permitted to, if you don't wake up. Because you're witnessing a population of people who are going to be prosecuted in the natural, shamed, okay, on the world stage, and they are going to burn in hell if they do not repent. That's exactly where they're going. They're going to burn in the pit of hell forever and ever if they do not repent for what the whole world knows that they are and what they're doing. Okay, so this is the fake sun in Glendale, California, while I'm inside of my UP, where my mailbox is in UP in Glendale, California, and this is at the top inside of 408 West G Street at the same exact time. Okay, we're outside of daylight savings time right now, so this is the same exact time. But again, I've pointed out how daylight savings time does not actually apply, because you are understanding now with regard to evidence, because we don't believe anything that just anybody tells us, and you're talking about evidence so that you can reconcile it in your mind, because you will also see with your own eyes, with your own ears. The evidence speaks for itself. I don't have to coax anybody. I don't have to talk you or persuade you into anything. The evidence is very highly persuasive regarding what is irreconcilable. As far as science, science agrees with what I am telling you. The actual factual. This is demonic. And it's also criminal. All right, and you're recognizing a criminal system that's practiced by the government in the United States. We are not in Afghanistan, and the government has been chasing me down in helicopters, keeping me under surveillance, violating my human rights, while simultaneously wanting to outwardly appear on the world stage as though they are some dignified professional department of police officers, for example, or a local government body, or that we are under any circumstances in any position, because what California is doing, the rest of the country is doing this. This is what's happening. And there are American citizens who are right now sitting kidnapped somewhere. They have committed no crime. The demons that are gang stalking are the ones that bear false witness in the corrupt courts who are gang stalking. That is, what is gang stalking? This is a term of art. These are the demon possessed that are targeting. You're not only gang stalking by living at Woodside Senior Apartments under the fake sun and an engineered light, stalking obsessively with noise, and stalking obsessively with methods of light like HD Supply, a corrupt business, engaged in on video, to the demise of that company and that demon-possessed driver. They're going to be prosecuted for that. Nonetheless, you are gang stalking by a corrupt act of the government. You're facilitating. They're not ignorantly facilitating criminal conduct where the police don't actually have any probable cause or reasonable suspicion. They're targeting you. You're being gang stalked by the police. They're trying to murder you. This is the purpose of gang stalking, for the systematic murder and kidnapping of targeted citizens in the country. While there is an existing constitution, that's what the government in the United States is practicing. That's what the state of California is practicing. With those, by the way, having the audacity to do it with those that have been granted a privilege to be in this country. And that is thereby the revocation of such privilege. And there is nothing that is going to supersede what is mandatory deportation after you go to federal prison based on the circumstances. And everybody in units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison. And that's exactly what they deserve. Nothing less. Okay, the entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct. The demons, like you see it, that lives in 55. You see the bleach blonde. She's about 65 years old. She is gang stalking under the fake sun in the middle of the day, at during the 1 p.m. hour. Remember, the entity's keeping the fake sun through the windows over me while the population is gang stalking me in Pomona, California, at the Starbucks at 3423 Pomona Boulevard. Remember, the entity's keeping the fake sun while I am at the West Covina City Hall, where the West Covina Police Department is also located, at 2:24 p.m. while I'm simultaneously reminding you about what's remaining stationary at Woodside Senior Apartments, where at this same venue at 9 o'clock in the morning, the city of Ontario is gang stalking. There is no duration of time where the sun would be over one apartment built. That's one address for the duration of the day. Like you saw at 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue, like you saw at 3423 Pomona Boulevard, Starbucks in Pomona, California. That's the pattern of conduct. This is how you're recognizing these demon-possessed mayors, these demon-possessed police departments, these demon-possessed communities. And the demon that lives in apartment 55, you're talking about if this is a natural-born citizen, because just because you appear to be Caucasian, that doesn't mean that you're natural-born. You could be Russian. You could be from you could speak some foreign language. Nonetheless, you are going to understand the severity of what you're engaging group stalking in your apartment with the level of impunity that the people of the state in apartment 55 have exhibited. And you're going to spend the rest of your life as a senior citizen in either a mental asylum or you're going to federal prison based on the level of impunity that is continuously documented on an ongoing basis. None of it is going to be dismissed at the federal prosecution of the entity. Remember, the entity is sharing this obsession with murdering someone. This obsession is going toward kidnapping someone because the demon-possessed entity planned and conspired to sacrifice unto Satan. This is a whole little secret society in California that's gang stalking. This is what Satan is doing because of your criminal purpose and the obsession, that is your audacity to continue in the face of evidence. Like you're going to tell the federal judge what you're not going to do. No, you're not going to do that. And you're not going to impliedly do that either while you're being documented. You will spend the rest of your natural life in a federal facility. And that's exactly what you deserve. And those are the likes also that you will never hesitate to deport. That's going to do wonders, again, for the economy in California and for the economy nationwide, by the way. California's economy does have an effect on what's going on nationwide as well, but it's going to do wonders with regard to how this, you've got this terrorist that's living in 55 and she can't even pay her rent. She's getting assistance from the government, who she's gang stalking with. This entire system, you're talking about what has to be, the landscaping has changed. No domestic terrorist shall get any assistance from the government to pay your rent. While you have those that are subject to targeting that are actually in need of housing. There's going to be a changing, or a rebalancing. It's very highly imbalanced. Okay, they're engaging this criminal conduct with impunity, and it's currently 5:11 p.m. and the ongoing amplification, which you've already seen on video. Okay, this terrorist is going to federal prison at 55, and I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's very tragic. You're understanding what is the mental illness by those who sacrifice their livelihood. They sacrifice their freedom. All right, they sacrifice what is the ability to live a life as an actual free citizen. Your life will be permanently altered if you make it out of federal prison because you will be labeled as a domestic terrorist. And terrorism in the United States is taken very seriously, which again, the rest of the world is also going to notice when the state of California is prosecuted for terrorizing American citizens. That's what I'm prosecuting. That's what I'm exposing. Gang stalking by the government is an iteration of what is under all circumstances, under no circumstances tolerated. It's a mode of domestic terrorism, a very serious one, where the entity is seeking to maliciously murder and kidnap American citizens systematically. You don't like your coworker? Like in Tracy Banks's circumstance, she doesn't like her blood relative, her own daughter. You want to get rid of someone? The government conspires against you, and the state acts. And this is a demon possessed. This is a wicked people who are targeting, systematically seeking to murder and kidnap people, ruin your lives, if not take your life altogether, ruin your reputation. All right, while they are trying to sacrifice you. This is how the state of California treats American citizens. It's domestic terrorism, and it's going to be prosecuted and understand on the books, providing what is precedent to prosecute any other state government that's engaging in the same exact system, because that's what's happening in Texas. That's what's happening in Florida. This is what's happening in New York, because there is no natural environment that includes the sun, where Woodside Senior Apartments, the prosecution of the people of the state, where a bunch of senior citizens are gang stalking a woman, a bunch of sex offenders, with a bunch of sex offenders calling themselves a police department. They're wasting millions of dollars gassing up helicopters and waiting for the moment to use them, because I'm speaking of the ethical problems regarding kidnapping through the demon possessed who want to be in the medical field regarding psychiatry. They're gang stalking through the corrupt government. That includes, for example, San Bernardino County. A bunch of demons that call themselves engaged in what is the behavioral sciences. All right, they're engaged in kidnapping, and they're documented on the books. Like I said, the entity's been engaging in this for years, and there are a lot of people that are going to federal prison. All right, but this is how you're understanding domestic terrorism is facilitated amongst the corrupt government that seeks to murder whoever it is that they place in their, whoever the entity wants to make a target. If you don't like your coworker, the entity, a bunch of demons targeting them together, and maliciously so. And you see on the headline news just an unfortunate occurrence like a car accident. It's a murder. There are a bunch of demons that they know what I'm saying in my apartment where I'm under surveillance. They know when I'm moving, when I'm getting up, this sex offender, these demons that are monitoring my genitalia. There's not a genuine car accident. They're murdering people. And then they're also profiting, putting life insurance policies on the head of the one whom they're keeping under surveillance, whom they're gang stalking, profiting off of systematically murdering and kidnapping people, assuming the identity, engaging in fraudulent acts against the one whom they're criminally targeting, gang stalking them. This is how the state of California is making a lot of money, the corrupt insurance system. All right, they're doing so. This is all the ways in which this corrupt system, this system of terrorism in this country. Because what's the difference between America and the rest of the world that is engaged in what is clearly inhumane treatment of American citizens, even though we're supposed to be different with the Constitution? We're supposed to be the leader of the free world. Unfortunately, what the true, genuine difference between America just likes to make a lot of money and maintain a hypocritical appearance of being civilized. That's what's distinguishable between America and the rest of the world. We don't like to appear barbaric. We like to have a three-piece suit on, a little bit of Fendi. We like to smell good. Okay, we like to be well manicured, and we like to make a lot of money. We like to appear as one thing with regard to what is no different than the barbaric and inhumane treatment of people that do not have a constitution in other third world countries, for example. That's the only difference between America, the United States, and the rest of the world. That's engaged in terrorizing their own people. The hypocrisy is what is, it adds an extra element of nausea. Okay. And this is, it doesn't make me excited. I'm not happy to, but this is the reality. And I'm an American citizen experiencing it. And I'm also going to clearly articulate the way this corrupt system is operating, how the people of the state, these murderers that make up the state of California, this is a murderer that lives in apartment number 55. Very, very determined to act toward the murder and kidnapping of American citizens. Someone with that type of appetite, someone seeking to profit, someone seeking to benefit off of, and she's going to federal prison for it. But this is the purpose of gang stalking with the government. It's incentivizing it. They place insurance on the heads of the ones that are targeted. You're talking about this gang stalking system. You're talking about putting insurance on a drunk that you find under the bridge, a homeless person that's under a bridge. You can put an insurance policy on them, and target them, take them out. And you're talking about the people of the state that profit. These are the ways in which the entity is engaging in what is murdering people. And on the news, it's reported as just an anomaly. Something unfortunate happened to this person. You know nothing about what is the system of federal group stalking and monitoring. That's what's living in apartment 55. That's what's costing everybody in unit 33 to 64 who's going to federal prison. This demon, Paul Leon, he shall not remain as any mayor. Okay. He's not under any circumstances a legitimate government actor. This is a closeted sex offender who's a part of the same demon-possessed, the same ongoing determination that this sex offender, this psychopath, this demon of 55, you already know what Paul Leon is about because they're the same exact condition and the same exact criminal system. And how do you know that? Greater context, the specific environment. Yes, these demons are engaged in a very highly detailed demonic targeting system. You know a lot about these strangers, quote unquote, who are targeting one person, and I'm just pointing it out to you. All right. And the evidence speaks for itself. So now I want to get back to the evidence. Now, the entity, while I'm inside of the Glendale office, I want you to look at this. All right. And that's a demon, by the way, honking the horn at the same time that I capture that fake sun. These demons are monitoring evidence. This is what the demon of 55 does. As I literally type out terrorism via amplified audible activity, so the demon repeats the boom, boom, boom. Every time I type it, boom, boom, boom. This is a very foolish act. I mean, they're literally going to federal prison. You're talking about enhancement to federal time. But you're understanding what is a mentally ill demon. Not capable of actually appreciating not the criminality, because this is not insanity that's going to relieve responsibility under the law, but you're talking about an inability to connect the dots regarding what's no longer working in your benefit. You are literally adding time to a sentence in federal prison. No sane person, no prudent person, no bright individual that doesn't want to go to federal prison would do that. You're talking about what is understanding. You're not dealing with normal beings, human beings. You're dealing with demons who are not sane human beings. Not sane with regard to focused on some petty thing like I'm going to keep on stalking with noise. I'm going to keep on pacing around. Remember, it's very serious with regard to pacing around in the engineer light. This is a demonic system of surveillance. The government is in real-time operation of what is the surveillance system, relying on the population of cockroaches who are pacing around together and stalking with noise. This is also relevant to what is ceaseless psychological torture. This is what the entity engages in, hoping that someone will start to generate suicidal ideation. Okay, this is what an entity is doing with regard to creating some sort of narrative whereby they can murder you and claim that you killed yourself. This is very critical regarding the ongoing unlawful behavior of gang stalking through the people of the state, like the demon in apartment number 55, who has provided evidence regarding her image, her license plate, her demon possession while impossible light activity moved across that brick wall in the parking lot at Woodside Senior Apartments, while that fake sun was over my head in this parking lot at this apartment complex during the 1 p.m. hour. and under no circumstances is going to be over my vehicle, stationary from 7:50 a.m. until after 4 p.m. at 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue, or seen through the windows of the Pomona Starbucks in Pomona, California at 3423 Pomona Boulevard, where the fake sun remained stationary on the same day from 9:52 a.m. until after 4:22 p.m. None of that is the natural environment. These are demons who are maintaining a demonic targeting system, which is designed to psychologically torture. That's an entity that doesn't only want to murder you physically, they want to take your mind. Okay, they also want to take your mind. You're going to be compensated for that. They're also going to be criminally prosecuted for that. So the entity is doing so with knowledge of the fact that it's being documented. So you may very well just stand in front of the federal judge and ask the judge to throw the book at you and give you the longest sentence possible. Because that's exactly what this terrorist, this sex offender, this psychopath at 55 is going to get. And remember, she's not acting as an individual. The police department that doesn't have any authority under the laws in the city and in the state, that's engaged in state surveillance, they're acting through such animalistic, barbaric, criminal activity. Such as that. And so are all the demons who are going to federal prison with her. 33 through 64 who are maintaining criminal presence corporately, cooperatively, just like you saw in video. Through HD Supply, they were maintaining a corporate means of maintaining a method of light activity and audible activity. Pacing around, walking by me at the front door, gang stalking as an entity. It's like double Dutch with regard to the elements of monitoring. They're acting together and they act as one. They speak as one with regard to the pattern of conduct, and you're going to be prosecuted as that one entity. Now, this demon is going to stand before a federal judge who's going to throw a book at her individually. And there is no demon that's going to stand there and vouch for her. No demon with regard to the to-be disbanded Ontario Police Department can help her. They incriminate her and vice versa. This is how you are, again, witnessing the implosion of this demonic system of federal group stalking and monitoring. You're going to hold them accountable for the level of malice with which they target an American citizen. And you're also going to use against them their animalistic, this demonic, this wicked appetite for the demise of another person, which the government has no legitimate interest in because it's stalking and surveillance. All right, so this is what an entity is engaging in. And while you hear this honking, that's exactly the pattern of conduct that the demon in 55 engages in. That's exactly what the people of the state, the demons that were pacing outside of my vehicle at 2100 Lark Ellen Avenue were practicing. While you saw with your own eyes impossible light activity appearing inside of my car while you're driving by it, while the sun is over Woodside Senior Apartments. But you're also seeing it over my vehicle. That's not the sun. There's only one, but by virtue of those that video evidence of Woodside and Lark Ellen, that's requiring more than one sun, because the one sun is not going to be seen at both venues at the same time in the manner that you see it, creating any of that light activity that you see. This is speaking to the demons who are gang stalking in West Covina, California. That's going to be prosecuted citywide, and Ontario, California. That's going to be prosecuted citywide. By the way, that's Los Angeles County, that's gang stalking. This is San Bernardino County, that's gang stalking. This is the state of California. All right, so this that you see at 4:22 p.m. Is not creating, this is impossible that this is the product of sunlight that you see on the wall inside of Tracy Banks' apartment today at 22 p.m. And this is to capture and understand what is demonic activity, which is the dual purpose of both prosecuting the state of California and also educating the masses regarding the reality of Satan, who is practicing through a corrupt government that is. Now, I want you to be clear, the video at the bottom, which was captured at 4:22 p.m., the same exact time, November 11th, and I captured this video today at November 27th at 4:22 p.m. The video ended at 4:34 p.m. I am at the bottom at 350 Glendale Boulevard in Glendale, California. And I am at the top at Woodside Senior Apartments at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California. There is no sunlight that's appearing on the inside of her apartment in Ontario, California, while I am looking at the light source at the same time in Glendale, California. Okay. By the way, as I pointed out in this video, this is the pattern of conduct. I'm at the UPS store. This is the sunlight that's supposed to be the product of the sun that I'm looking at in Glendale on the bottom. All right, that's not, again, in any alignment. This is supposed to be, this is the illogical, the asinine conduct of the demons who are not intelligent. You're talking about just mere numerosity. That's what Satan relies on. His minions who are many, but that does not equal mighty. They're just wicked. They're not witty. It's not intelligent. It's absolutely impossible and ridiculous. It's illogical. It's unnatural. It's irreconcilable. I can continue. This is how you are able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that an entity is engaging in what is a malicious system. That's synonymous with demonic in a federal court. A malicious system of criminal surveillance that's designed to result in the murder and kidnapping of an American citizen where that government actually has no authority under the law and is engaged in what is public corruption, relying on that corrupt community. And that's also, as a result, you're talking about what you identify through the unnatural environment, understanding what is not sunlight, what's the significance of having engineered light. This is where an entity like the demon in 55 is engaged in what is ongoing psychotic harassment, stalking with noise, every move that I make while you're looking at what is on an ongoing basis, engineered light that's moving all around, cycling. It's during the video, it's literally disappearing. You're seeing nothing on the wall here behind the front door. After I open it, then you'll see the engineer light appear on the wall behind the front door. Very demonic. This is not the natural environment. Okay? That's not sunlight either. Okay? This is what, by the way, like I pointed out in the video, this pattern of light activity is present on the same wall behind the front door at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's not sunlight. No matter what side of the front door that the fake sun is, this engineer light remains stationary inside of Tracy Banks' apartment. This is the presence of engineer light, and so is this. The presence in the engineer light is the elements of monitoring. Presence, meaning criminal. This is how a government is using the people that live in the state to maliciously gang stalk you. These are demons who know what you're physically doing. There's no genuine car accident amongst the demon possessed who are gang stalking. This is the way the entity is maliciously murdering people. They tend to have insurance policies on the ones whom they're targeting. They're making money while they're trying to systematic and maliciously murder you and make it appear as something else, as an accident. All right? As some unfortunate series of events. Okay? The entity is doing so with an intentional criminal purpose to sacrifice you. This is satanic. And so is this environment. This is not sunlight. Okay, so this is what I want you to see, and then you're looking at what is outside. The engineer light you see that also rapidly disappears is incongruent with this. You've got, this is not sunlight. This is that which is appearing at the top of the front door, and then you're mindful of what's happening in Glendale, California at the same time. That's not sunlight. Okay, but also this light that you see at the top on the front door is incongruent with the appearance of this light that's appearing on the living room wall. This is just, you need to understand when you're recognizing the spiritual realm, and you will identify it through the environment that you're paying attention to, not to incite paranoia, not because you need to search out and look. You just need to be aware of the devices of the enemy. You need to be aware of how you are how you are able to deduce the presence of what is your enemy, which is spiritual. You're aware of the spiritual through the behavior, the natural behavior of those around you. That is, the demon in 55 is engaging in what is not coincidentally stalking with methods of noise every time I make a move. It's occurring in an environment that is entirely demonic. This is a monitoring demon. And this is referencing, it's pointing the finger, it's blowing the whistle on the government. The government's going to be prosecuted, and so is this third-party gang stalking demon. This is a violent sex offender, and they have a bend they are inclined towards sexual violence in every way that I just stated. Penetrating children, trafficking children, watching you on the dark web where they can look at your nude body that they're obsessively consumed with. These are violent sex offenders that abuse resources and money as a corrupt city, a corrupt state. That is then also speaking of all the issues that they have in the state and all of the ways in which they don't have enough money to resolve all of the economic issues in the state. If gang stalking were identified and the terrorists that are sucking up the resources in the state were removed via deportation, for example, and federal prison, for example, and not providing assistance to terrorists like the demons in 55 and the people of the state at Woodside Senior Apartments, you will find money. You will find it. This criminal system is much of the reason why you have what are the so-called absence of resolutions to the manufactured, these are self-induced problems that the state has because it's corrupt. So I just want to point that out as well. The entity is engaging in this, and you're looking at the environment outside. The light that's appearing on the inside of her apartment is not the product of any sunlight. And this, which is supposedly some sort of distant, far-off sunlight, is not creating concentrated light on the inside of her apartment. And who's engaged in surveillance as I captured? HD Supply were already stalking in the path the entire time. You're looking at what is lying in wait. HD Supply and the level of impunity that I just documented, that's relevant for what is the basis of federal prison. All right, and that's because the federal government is going to make abundantly clear what the states are not permitted to do, and what the constituents of the state are not going to get away with, and you're not going to be permitted to get away with it. And numerosity of the demons is not going to be a bar to justice at all. It's not. But this is lying in wait conduct. What right here? Well, HD Supply were already engaged in. They were already present. And they're engaging in the pattern of conduct while I'm in the apartment. Remember, everything that I am doing is subject to surveillance. You're looking at the engineered light on the door. You already know what they are doing. You already know what they're doing. Okay? They're stalking in the path. And they're doing so with the demon that lives in 55 directly above, who is keeping me under surveillance, not as an individual, as the entity. Okay, this is not the product of any sunlight. That's going to be in perfect alignment with me in Glendale, California, where the people of the state are gang stalking. The city of Glendale is a group stalker, full of demons who are not ignorantly or coincidentally facilitating activity in that environment. This is speaking to what is massive demon possession in the state of California that's practicing this system of sacrificing, murdering, systematically murdering and kidnapping American citizens. And as I speak to it, as I expose it, the government is still, to date, engaging in this demonic system. And that's where you recognize you're going to prosecute for the level of impunity and malice. You're going to prosecute. They're going to serve the penalties for that. But you're understanding, you're recognizing, again, like I stated, this is going back to the original point. This is not merely criminal. These are indeed demons. They're not just criminals. These are indeed demons. This is what they are obsessively consumed with. These are the demon possessed and their obsession. You're going to now prosecute them for their obsession. You're going to be prosecuted for that. Okay? So the entity, a lot of people are going to find themselves in other countries. They're going to find themselves in federal facilities. And perhaps that is where they will humble themselves and submit themselves unto Christ and plead for forgiveness. All right? And confess their sins. All right? But nonetheless, they're literally going to be prosecuted for their documented obsession, because the federal government and the world knows the criminal system that California is practicing. And that's how you know that they are not, again, as we've already stated, you know it through the specific environment, you know it through the behavioral pattern. But you also know because this entity of demons has been fully exposed, and the reason why they're still continuing is not because they're going to accomplish a sacrifice. It's because they are in fact demons. This is again the ritualistic behaviors of the demon possessed, who have been given over to Satan, who are not able to deliver on a sacrifice. Okay, the entity is engaging in this, and that's also how you know that you're not dealing with normal behavior. This traffic that you're seeing, this is demonic activity. These are demons who are pacing. And it under no circumstances, this environment is under no circumstances creating sunlight on this door, like you see here. It's not creating any sunlight out the top of Tracy Banks' door in Ontario. There's no vantage point of the sun that's creating this sunlight on the corner of her front door, 51 in Ontario, from the doorway of the UPS store at 350 Glendale Avenue in Glendale, California. No, it's not. And it's also not creating any sunlight on her living room door in the depths of her apartment. Accordingly, and that's just one video. I have more than one. I captured the video, the entity keeping the fake sun over me while I'm at this Starbucks at 3423 Pomona Boulevard in Pomona, California, which you saw. And so just bear with me. I'll just go ahead and find that video real quick just to give you another example of what this is 9:56 in the morning. And again, it's not just the analysis of analysis regarding the same time analysis. It's also the duration of time. Remember, you've already seen the fake sun at WOODSIDE in your apartments over me at 9 o'clock in the morning. There is no iteration of the natural environment that would include any sunlight on Tracy Banks' front door, such that the sun is anywhere near creating that sunlight on her living room picture, on the upper portion of her living room wall, on the behind the front door and the depths of her apartment, just appearing out of nowhere in a different color seconds later after it was not there, creating any amber colored sunlight on her front door when you're looking at the sun directly over me at her front door at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. That's non-movement. That's not sunlight. That's understanding the P.O.C. You don't have to even compare it to another venue, because that's all the state of California is. You're understanding what is, in other words, the government has no right to be anywhere, not even at the police station, because they're engaging in what is unconstitutional acts of stalking and surveillance. I will prosecute you, yes, at your police station, because you're engaged in criminal presence in the path while the demons are gang stalking. Okay? Doing so while they're listening to their prosecution. The entity of gang stalking by helicopter with the people of the state. Everybody's going to federal prison here. They're stalking in the path, listening to me prosecute them, and the entity is gang stalking in real time. Ontario police, who is going to be disbanded, is indeed engaged in 24-hour surveillance. You saw AVANATH Capital Management gang stalking with HD Supply, engaging in a sex offense gang stalking. It's not a coincidence that they're doing. That's exactly what HD Supply was doing. It's a method of light activity. Everybody at Woodside is going to be prosecuted for state surveillance. This is exactly what the West Covina Police Department were practicing. This is exactly what the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department are practicing. They're going to federal prison, okay? That's not a coincidence. That's exactly what they're doing with regard to knowledge of what my genitalia is up to in the bathroom. This is not the ordinary light. This is, again, the understanding the specific environment. Everybody in units 33 through 64, they're going to federal prison. That's not somebody that's actually working out. That's called criminal presence in the path. And that's how you understand what the supernatural environment supersedes what demons want to appear as engaging in anything, first of all, lawful, where the demons who are gang stalking by corrupt police departments, Paul Leon, Mike Lorenz, they are permanently done with the careers that they have with regard to being and having anything to do. First of all, Mike Lorenz, that's a sex offender and a terrorist, and he's done with law enforcement permanently. He's not going anywhere else in this country ever having anything to do with law enforcement. And Derek Williams, the demon-possessed sex offending gang stalker who retired from the same position, engaging in the same exact criminal system. He has the same exact fate. And by the way, his criminal engagement in the P.O.C. 2018, 2019, before that demon retired, there's no statute of limitations. And he's going to be held in the same light. And that's how you also understand what's no coincidence. That's the pattern of kind of HD Supply just has a logo. It's the same demonic P.O.C. Okay? And they're engaging in what is knowledge of what I say as I say it. That's why they're all going to federal prison. What type of psychopath would engage in that? Understand that they're demons. They don't have the self-control to withstand listening to the truth regarding their demonic behavioral patterns, which are criminal. And you're understanding what is the inability to control yourself, understand the public safety concern. Sex offenders and psychopaths have no business bearing weapons like the Ontario Police Department do. They're going to be removed from law enforcement. These are mentally ill psychopaths who are trying to murder me, gang stalking. They're wasting millions of dollars using helicopters doing it. That's what you just learned from the presence of the state. And you've seen the Ontario Police Department gang stalking me day and night under a fake sun that remains over here. And you already know, as you look at what the West Covina Police Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the Los Angeles County Fire Department, the West Covina Fire Department, all of the entity that I've been documenting, they expose themselves as you speak to what the demon-possessed are practicing. That's exactly why you're permanently, and the Ontario police, they're going to be disbanded. They've wasted billions of dollars, years of state terrorism, sex offenders engaging in what is this practice of a statewide system. They hold hands with the people of the state. They engage in criminal conduct, seeking to systematically murder and kidnap people, having no authority under the law, and they approve it. They approve of it also. That's why they're going to be disbanded. In addition to the fact that they put their hands on me, they kidnapped me more than one time, in concert with Tracy Banks, in concert with the demons that are at Woodside Senior Apartments. They're going to be disbanded. And San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, the same criminal conduct. That's disbanding. There is no negotiation with terrorists. Okay, they've gone to the point. That's the whole point, by the way, of gang stalking by the corrupt executive branch, the police that don't have any authority under the Constitution. They're acting with regard to this demonic system, and those demons, they exhibit the fact that they're demons. They could have quietly flown over. You're witnessing the demon possessed who are exhibiting hostility, but it's also highly imprudent. Just like the demon in 55, they can't control themselves. You're witnessing the demon possessed. They're acting out their mental illness. This is the demon possessed. This is the decision-making skills. You are going to remove these public safety concerns. That's what everybody working for the Ontario Police Department exhibit. That's what they are. They're public safety concerns. Remove them from the weapons that they bear. Remove them from the positions that they hold, and they are permanently done with law enforcement. All right. This is what you know with regard to what it is that I'm documenting. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this. regarding the entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct that I captured today. And I'm going to remind you, when you're looking at Engineer Light, the entity is keeping the fake sun over Woodside Senior Apartments day and night, and doing so and in real time stalking. Let me be clear. The employees of AVANATH Capital Management are going to federal prison working at Woodside, and so are the demons living in units 33 through 64. All right, and the entire city of Ontario, they're going to be subject to the immigration policy. Domestic terrorist gang stalking in Ontario are going to be deported out of this country. And there will be there's no exception. This is going to be massive deportation of the terrorists in the state of California, gang stalking in the city of Ontario. The demons working at the city of Ontario City Hall, the demons working for every corrupt aspect of the state, local, every level of government that is gang stalking with regard to what the state of what the state of California and what the city of Ontario is engaged in, which you already know as a matter of evidence. And then you're going to prosecute it. Then you're going to uproot all of the corrupt facets of that system, and it includes the demons that are in this country and abusing their privilege to be in this country, and that's through gang stalking with the corrupt government. All right, and that's including the entity that works for these corrupt government bodies. The Ontario Police Department is going to be treated like any other domestic terrorists. All those demons did, they dress up like it's Halloween every day, like they're actual police officers, and they're not. They're sex offenders, and you literally just witnessed them stalking an American citizen in helicopter, listening to the truth of this American citizen blow the whistle on them, and they're witnessing their own demise, and they are exhibiting their mental illness to you. This is why you are removing the demon-possessed who are gang stalking in California permanently from law enforcement. All right, they are going to be disbanded. The Ontario Police Department shall not remain. They're going to be disbanded. It's mandatory. It's 3:50. Let me see if I can find 1 second, because I'm looking for the last video at 4:22 at where the entity kept this fake sun at this very Starbucks in Pomona, California. And then you're looking at light that's on my on the wall of Tracy Banks inside of her living room. This is where a demon-possessed terrorist organization that would like to be mistaken for a police department, but nobody with any iota, any remote amount of common sense, and that has seen any of the evidence, is going to mistake the Ontario Police Department for a legitimate law enforcement agency. Nobody's going to mistake them for that. 4:22 p.m. Here's the engineer light on the wall of Tracy Banks where the Ontario Police are in this video gang stalking. That is, again, the removal of Mike Lorenz, the removal of Paul Leon, Alan D. Wapner. You already know that this is a demon, a closeted sex offender. The president over the corrupt Ontario International Airport, which is not needed in the city of Ontario, has been committed to state surveillance as a matter of documentation for years, wasting millions and billions of dollars on state surveillance as opposed to the legitimate operations of an airport that should be concerned with making money and flying to the destinations, which does not include hovering over the roof of the Woodside Senior Apartments under the fake sun, under the fake moon, pursuant to all of my movements and pursuant to all of my documentation as I document it. And so since the airport is not needed, by virtue of your engagement in that, the airport will be removed. And that's where you will also find more money. They waste resources. They're employing people that don't need a job to engage in criminal conduct. That's how they're keeping a job, state surveillance. No, they're all fired. All of them. And by the way, you have a corrupt government actor, Alan D. Wapner, a demon that's a part of the corrupt Ontario City Council that's gang stalking in Ontario. While you know all of that, while the demons in a helicopter where they're wasting millions of dollars listening to me, they're also monitoring my genitalia. That's what you know when you see them gang stalking in this video. Every time I pull my panties down, Mike Lorenz and everybody the part of the Ontario Police Department, sex offenders, stalking in helicopters, wasting a lot of money and approving such sexual violence amongst a population of people, a demon-possessed entity, mentally disturbed, murderers and kidnappers. That's literally what they practice statewide. That's what this is. That's what you know while you see them gang stalking inside of this apartment where there is no sun that's going to be outside of the Starbucks in
Currently, 4:22 p.m., you are witnessing the exposure of all of Satan's minions. This is criminal activity, but you need to understand the nature of this criminal activity. It's demonic, all right? And you're witnessing the evidence of it through the scientific impossibility.
So this is what I just want you to see. This is again aligned with the UPS store in Glendale, and I'm in Pomona here at 4:22 p.m. Very perfect alignment. This, what you see outside of the window at Starbucks where I was present at 9:52 in the morning. The sun did not go anywhere, in other words. This is also, that's speaking to one angle of analysis which I applied for you. In video, it's already on the record. And then also, while I'm inside of Tracy Banks' apartment in Ontario at 4:22 p.m., what is outside of the window in Pomona at the Starbucks where the fake sun was remaining stationary all day long as of 9:52 in the morning is not remaining or in any position where any of this is sunlight, okay, that you see appearing and rapidly disappearing. The more that I speak, this evidence of this demonic system rapidly disappears off the wall, right? And then it appears on the wall behind the front door in a different color. And doing so, again, very highly unintelligent. And so is the gang stalking by the corrupt actors, the Ontario Police Department. This is, again, the same Starbucks that's, again, engineered light, the identification of demons that are going to cafes, engaging in surveillance. This is what the demon possessed are actually obsessed with. And you know that because what supersedes this supernatural presence of engineered light that's not sunlight. All right, that's the intentional presence for somebody that's demon possessed. You know their condition, and you know the ongoing malice of an entity that's obsessively gang stalking you. None of that is sunlight, and the entity is doing so. This is not going to create any sunlight inside of Tracy Banks' apartment at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California, like you see here. And again, this is at the same exact time. This is the P.O.C, however. That's the pattern of conduct. It's outside of, and it's incongruent with nature. However, it is in conformity to the pattern of conduct of recognizing federal group stalking and monitoring. It is the permanent removal, that is the disbanding of the band of sex offenders who are committed to stalking and domestic terrorism, and approving it amongst the corrupt population, that is the city of Ontario, who's been practicing murdering and kidnapping American citizens for a very long time, for decades. Okay, and they do so with impunity as I'm capturing them, documenting that. They also engage in criminal acts of retaliation as I document, because a bunch of psychopaths and sex offenders are just mad because you're blowing the whistle, enforcing your rights, and then they engage in an additional act of terrorism. They're not doing anything lawful whatsoever, and like I stated, as those demons reacted in real time, you will be prosecuted at your police station. You have no right to be there. They're engaged in criminal presence in the path. It's a malicious system of stalking. How is stalking accomplished? Through presence in that specific environment. That's not the sun over that police station. That's not sunlight all over the place. And that's criminal facilitation while the people of the state, demons, just like you saw in this parking lot at Woodside, are in front of the police station with their hazard lights on. Those are demons stalking in the path with the method of light activity. You'll see the United States Postal Service do that. All right, you'll see a demon just loading and unloading something. You will see the identical P.O.C. If not appearing through what are the demons who are pacing via traffic all around that specific environment. It is blowing the whistle on the entire police station. Those are demons that are gang stalking in the state of California. How many times did I document that? San Diego County, the San Diego Police Department. San Bernardino County, the Fontana Police Department. The Ontario Police Department, and they know that. That's why those demons engaged in that very foolish and imprudent criminal act, which I documented on video. They're going to be disbanded. But I have the fake son while they're gang stalking me on video at the Ontario Police Department. Okay, the Upland Police Department also going to be disbanded. Why? You have placed your hands on the target individual whom you're gang stalking. You're trying to murder and kidnap them. And you are literally acting in reasonable furtherance of that criminal conspiracy while you're targeting them. You're going to federal prison for that, and you are subject to disbanding. And the Upland Police Department did that. They engaged in kidnapping, exercising fictitious authority when they're gang stalkers. That's why they're going to be disbanded. And by the way, I captured the fake son over their department. A whole bunch of demons gang stalking, calling themselves police officers. And they like to stalk with helicopters as well. That's also on in video evidence. They do so while they know that you're documenting them. And their appetite for terrorism in the United States is not distinct from terrorism that's happening outside of the jurisdiction of the U.S. Again, the only difference is that in the United States, we like to dress up nice. We like to speak well, eloquently. We like to present ourselves well. We like to make a lot of money. All right. And just call ourselves, refer to ourselves, esteem ourselves as something that we are not. It's hypocrisy, and it's nauseating. It's disgusting. It's demonic. It is the work of Satan. All right, I'm not going to mince words with you with that, but I want you to see this. This is what I captured on video. This is pointing out the entity that's engaging in gang stalking, and I want you to pay attention to the demons who are going to be removed from the office that they currently hold. One second. The offices that they currently hold: gang stalking and Ontario, California. This is blowing the whistle on the entire city. The corrupt body, Wapner. This is a demon-possessed corrupt government actor who's the president over the Ontario International Airport that's gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments with the corrupt actor, the Ontario Police Department, wasting millions of dollars, billions of resources on criminal activity, and then continuously doing so while they are aware of the fact, by virtue of at the very least keeping my evidence under surveillance, that the federal government knows exactly what they're doing. The federal government knows exactly what they're doing, and that's how you know that they're demons. That obsession, that mental illness, because no prudent person before the world and before the federal government that's going to prosecute you would do that. That's how you know that they're demons. This is Paul Leon. This is his public exposure. This is not a government act. This is a terrorist. And this is how they like to present themselves. These are demons. These are closeted sex offenders. These are psychopaths. These are corrupt government actors. This is gang stalking by a corrupt government body. They know exactly what the corrupt executive branch, the police departments are practicing. They know exactly where the money is going with regard to keeping helicopters gassed up to keep a person under surveillance in an apartment complex, flying in circles over the apartment complex, living in the same community where a fake son is remaining over the Woodside Senior Apartments. This demon knows exactly what he's a part of it. And you're not going to remain as a mayor, okay? This is speaking to public corruption that is being fully exposed and detailed. Okay, the entity is engaging in this, and I want to make sure that you are also aware, and I want you to see the face of the Ontario Police Department. This is the demon that is going to be removed from the position that they hold while you're looking at their real-time criminal engagement of federal group stalking monitoring, of practicing sexual violence as a department. They're going to be removed from the positions that they hold, and they are, again, presenting themselves as one thing. This is what they're presenting themselves as one thing, and they are under no circumstances heroes. They are fully documented, by the way, very well, heavily documented as gang stalking in the very helicopters that they post on their front page. They're engaging, and that's what they're not reporting, the fact that they use these to stalk and terrorize American citizens, and that they're demons. They're demon possessed. All right, and the criminal, this is a criminal that is over this corrupt department. I want you to see that. Chief of police. This is hilarious. Let me see. Report an issue. Okay. This is this demon's name. And Mike LORENZ is not the first one to facilitate and engage in terrorism by gang stalking police officers who are systematically seeking to murder and kidnap an American citizen. That is the reason why police are engaged in federal group stalking monitoring. They're seeking to murder and kidnap someone. All right. While they exercise fictitious authority under the law that they don't even have. They don't have authority under the law. They're gang stalking. And they're demon possessed, and so is Mike LORENZ. And he knows exactly what's going on with the helicopters, the resources of this department, wasting millions of dollars in the city of Ontario, which again, Paul Leon is not ignorant about, knows exactly what this demon is. Paul Leon and Mike LORENZ are the same condition, and they're practicing the same criminal system. This is speaking to public corruption, all right? And the entity, he's not going to remain as the chief of police. And before him, this is speaking to, again, what's not coincidental. This, which is grandfathered in, Derek Williams, the demon before him, his predecessor, engaged in the same criminal system. That's not a coincidence. Nothing changes, only the face, the same demonic spirit, the same criminal pattern of conduct by a corrupt government actor. That is the Ontario Police. This is not a legitimate police department. This is a terrorist organization. That's what's flying over the apartment while I'm speaking to the criminal engagement and federal group stalking monitoring. It's currently, again, 5:53 p.m. Wednesday, November 27, 2024. This is where the entity is keeping the fake son at Woodside Senior Apartment. So let me go ahead and document that so you can see where we're at and who's going to be prosecuted for what is the specific environment that's now maintained at what is Woodside Senior Apartments at 408 West G Street. All right. This is a multifamily residence where the entity documented flying over the multifamily senior citizen 55 plus, flying in circles. The demon in apartment 55 directly above, she doesn't mind the entity flying in circles because she's gang stalking with the police. She's acting with that ongoing criminal determination to murder me along with that corrupt police department, to kidnap me along with that corrupt police department. That's why you have, again, what is on its face inappropriate. Is this quiet enjoyment violation, this substantial disruption of helicopter activity over a senior citizen complex. Remember, it's not an anomaly. It's not just once in a blue moon. It's based on what I do as I do it in the specific environment at that. Okay, the entity is doing so with regard to 408 West G Street. It shares nothing in common with the West Covina City Hall at 1444 Garvey Avenue. There is no shared environment where there's going to be any sun seen through Tracy's windows, any sunlight inside of her apartment. There's never going to be sunlight appearing across your ceiling while the sun is outside at a higher elevation above the building, let alone in two different locations on video over me at the same time, like I'm showing you, just with regard to pick a venue, any venue. Alvarado Gardens, West Covina City Hall, which is the West Covina Police Department. Again, the mayor and the chief of police, the demons that are the police, they know exactly what each of them are engaging in. Okay? The entity is engaging in this, and I just want you to see this is the property that's going to be prosecuted. Okay, in AVANATH Capital Management, their employees are gang stalking. Those that are coming onto the property are gang stalking. The government's in the sky space above the property gang stalking, and they are going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally for it. They're also engaged in federal stalking. All right? It's another corrupt company, just like Starbucks. It's just like Starbucks. They're just engaged in the business of real estate. That's the only difference. AVANATH is going to be prosecuted. It is currently, again, 5:56 p.m. This is P.O.C.